Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a good week so far. Welcome to this episode. Today, going to be doing something a little bit different than the usual environment stuff that I've been posting lately. Wanted to do something more character based. Um, and as I mentioned before, I was away over the holidays for a family trip. We went to Japan for several weeks and it was an amazing time. I highly recommend. If you've never been to Japan, definitely check it out at some point in your lives. It's definitely a place worth visiting. Um, it's just some of the best experiences that I've ever had as a tourist. The food, all the sights, the way the city and the landscapes. Um, has been put together. Definitely inspiring, especially as an artist. So yeah, I came back with a lot of inspiration. I did not do any painting whatsoever for those several weeks, which is always good as well to take a break every now and then. But I definitely came back with a lot of inspiration, a lot of ideas, and this is one of them. We visited uh, one of the areas, one of the cities called Kyoto, and they have a studio there, like a theme park that's associated with some of the most iconic Japanese characters, Japanese shows, and one of them is the Kamen Rider series, which I was a big fan of when I was a kid, and so I wanted to come back and do something that was in tribute to that. Um, yeah, I wanted to do something more character based. I'm not much of a character artist, so I wanted to kind of brush up on that, and so here it is. So again, starting in the same process as any environment work that I've done, using just a purely 2D workflow, starting with really rough line work, nothing too defined as always. Just really setting up the guidelines and the composition for the piece here. And so this is kind of different from pure concept work because this is I wouldn't call this concept. This is more of an illustration, purely because um, I am basically trying to recreate a photo. I didn't record it, but if you Google uh, Kamen Rider Black Sun, you'll see something similar to this. The same pose, the same composition, and really, this is just really a study, a character study, and I really wanted to just practice my illustration and my rendering skills. And yeah, it turned out uh, pretty good, I think, and it was something that I'm quite happy with, and I think I learned a lot from this process. So again, just figuring out the pieces, all the details without going too much into the nitty gritty of things. Just blocking out the key components of the character, and then once I'm happy with that, I paint that in with the base, sort of the midtones of the character. And if you haven't seen Kamen Rider, uh, I would recommend it. It's definitely like it depends on which series. There's been like numerous series, numerous different shows that's based on it. And if you're not familiar with Japanese tokusatsu, I think is what they call this genre. It can appear very cheesy, uh, but as a kid, it's extremely entertaining, right? It's like Power Rangers was definitely based on this kind of stuff. Um, but the interesting thing about this particular version of Kamen Rider is it's called Black Sun, and it's a little bit more gritty, a little bit more geared towards adults. I think it's a little bit more gory, which is really interesting. And if you see the design, it looks very uh, visceral. You know, it's very almost gross looking. They really lean towards the whole idea that he is insect based, that he's inspired by a grasshopper, and I really particularly like this design because I feel it's a little bit more grounded than the typical Kamen Rider incarnations. So yeah, at this point, like I have the midtones laid down, and then I'm kind of going top down from the head. So as with anything really, when you're painting, you want to focus on a particular focal point. So in this case, I wanted to put most time and most effort towards the head because the head is where I want the viewer to be spending most of the time looking at. So it's something that I've rendered out the most, and I wanted to focus most of my attention to. So basically, here the workflow is get the midtones down, and then apply the shadows, and then after that, do a pass on the highlights. And one of the key things about rendering that I've heard several artists suggest and talk about is that you you can be loose with your brush strokes when it comes to the midtones and the shadows, but the highlights is where you can be a little more detailed with, and I think that gives an effect of just like a higher rendering quality. So that's something that I've been trying to apply. So the head is taking some shape here, applying some highlights to the mask, to the facial part there. And now it's really starting to pop a little bit. So now moving on to the torso portion. And one of the things that I've been trying to late as of late is once I have my line drawing, I paint over it with the painting layers, the midtones and the shadow layers and the highlight layers, which is something that I'm still getting used to, just because I'm trying to really not be too tied down to the line work. I tend to have this over reliance on the lines on the line art, um, but I'm trying to shed that, and I'm trying to kind of be okay with painting over it, and not overly relying on it. Essentially, I'm trying to switch my mindset to the point where I think of it as a scaffolding right? Like when you create a building, you have the scaffolds, but eventually, you replace the scaffolds with the actual structure, right? So I'm trying to think of the line art in the same way, where at the end of the piece, the line art should not really be visible anymore. It really just serves as a guide, right, for you to build the real structure of the piece, right? And so yeah, like I think it's starting to work out here, where the line, I'm not overly relying on the lines to give a sense of detail. I'm actually using the shadows, the highlights, and the midtones and the way they work together to really communicate the details. And I think there's certain styles where the lines are part of it, that the lines are visible, but that's not what I'm trying to do here. So at this point, I've worked my way down to the belt area, and my intention for this piece is, as I go down, the details and the rendering finish gets looser and looser, because again, I want the focus to be on the head part. So as you can tell, like the arm section and the sort of the hip section starts to get really loose and sort of fade into the background, and that's intentional, and that's something that I think really helps the composition a lot. And another aspect of that too, that's really good practice, is like being able to let go of like the idea that you want every little pixel to be perfect. And I think that mindset is like a trap that makes things a little bit difficult. And I think if you think that way, the piece ends up not being as good as you expect. You kind of have to be always looking out for the bigger picture of things, and really like focusing on the like on the picture as a whole. So in this case, again, I wanted the face, the head, to be the main focus, and so I need to be willing to sacrifice other parts of the structure of the painting in order for that to happen, right? Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions about that, I would love to discuss. So please leave comments. So at this point here, really finishing up the painting, feeling pretty good about it. Adding the finishing touches, made some adjustments to the eyes just to kind of knock it back a little bit. And yeah, here's the final piece. It was fun. Hope you had fun too. Hope you learned something new. And I'll see you